Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? This week, the founder of NYC Brunch Squad, Liza, is on the Health by Haven podcast to share the power of social connection and the positive impact creating friendships has on well-being. In the episode, Liza shares all about how the squad was formed, the mission behind the group, the types of events they host, and how powerful it is to find your group of friends, especially in a new city. This one felt really close to home for me, knowing that I'm about to make this big move up to New York City, and I really cannot wait to attend some of the NYC Brunch Squad events. I really felt like I found an immediate friend in Liza. We just had such an easy conversation, and I was really struck by how thoughtfully she designs events to ensure everyone in attendance feels comfortable and welcome. This is such a good episode to encourage you to get out of your comfort zone, and I know you're going to love Liza just as much as I do. Liza, thank you so much for joining us on the Health by Haven podcast today. I am so thrilled to get to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited as well.
So this might seem like a little bit of a untraditional episode for a health podcast. So I want to just get into that right off the bat. Talk to us a little bit about NYC Brunch Squad. And personally, I wanted to chat with you because I think relationships and social connections is such an important part of health and well-being and happiness. And so that's why I really wanted to chat with you. And so tell us a little bit about the Brunch Squad, how the idea came to be, all the good stuff.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more. I think it is an area of health and wellness that is so neglected and just does not get talked about a lot. But there are some very scary studies out there that talk about the impact of loneliness, and NYC Brunch Squad is definitely trying to help combat that. So essentially, it started out as a brunch club for women that are looking to make new friends and connections in the city. I started it back in 2018. At this point, I always say the name is very deceiving because we do so many different types of events, way beyond just brunch, everything from community service events to fitness events. We do spa nights. I mean, you name it, we've done it. And so, yeah, the goal is really just to make it fun and easy for people to find connections in the city, because a lot of people, whether they just moved here or they've been here their whole life, they kind of struggle in adulthood to find people that are aligned with where they're at in their current phase of life. And so I'm here to try to make that a little bit more easy and fun for people.
Yes, I feel like it was like culture shock when you get out of school. You're like, what do you mean? I don't have built-in friends.
Right. I know. We really underestimate how much easier it is when you're in a routine and you're exposed to the same types of people, whether you're sitting next to them in class or they're across the hall from you in your dorm. Like, it just makes it that much easier. And then when you move to any city, really, but I think especially New York, where things are just so overwhelming and crazy, it's just like really hard sometimes to find your footing and to feel like you really have a support system here.
Absolutely. So are you a New York City native?
I'm not. I'm not. I grew up about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia, and I went to college there and I lived there for a while, and I've been in New York now for 8 years.
Amazing. Do you love
Yeah.
it?
Love it. It's like
Oh,
nowhere else on earth.
yes. So fun. Okay. So I'm assuming there's a little bit of like an origin story of why you were like, okay, I'm feeling like we need to have this thing to make
Yeah.
connections with people. So talk to us a little bit about when you first moved to the city, when you were finally like, okay, like I want to fill this gap.
Sure. Well, as a little bit of a backstory, I was a resident assistant in college, and I feel like for anyone who doesn't know, that's like when you're in the dorms, there's a student in the dorm on your floor who's kind of in charge of the floor and planning events and helping people make friends. And so I really thrived in that role. I think like that's kind of where I learned, okay, I love bringing people together. Like this is just so fun seeing people click and yeah, I just really loved that. I was working full time when I moved to New York and in grad school when I started this. So
Oh
it was
gosh.
really, yeah, it was really just like a fun thing I wanted to do on top of all the other work that I was doing. But basically, when I moved here, I felt so lucky because I had friends already living here from college. And so they kind of took me under their wing. I was texting them at the middle of the day, like, which subway do I get on? All the little questions you have when you first move here. And they made it such an easier transition for me. I'm not going to say easy because it still was a transition, even coming from Philly, which is another large city. But it was much easier. And, on the weekends, I had plans. I could follow them around wherever they were going. But I really started thinking about the people who didn't have that. And I was meeting a lot of women who were kind of expressing this to me of like, yeah, I'm not really interested in being friends with my coworkers for whatever reason, and I'm not in school, and I just don't really have anywhere to meet people. And so I remember it was the middle of the night. I was just up for no reason thinking about this. And I remember thinking, like, what is a way that I could just get those people all together in one room? Because I know there's so many people looking for this. I just have to help them find each other. And I just thought that brunch was the perfect environment for that because it's so laid back, low pressure. You just come in expecting to have a good time. And that's when I came up with the idea. And I got so lucky. I mean, I made the Instagram and my first event, there were three of us. So I always love to tell that story because I think a lot of people would have seen that as like a failure. But
Hmm.
for me, I was blown away by how easy it was for us to connect. There were like no awkward silences. We just bonded the whole time. And it kind of showed me like this could work. And so the next event after that had 12 people, and then every event from then on had over 25 people. I had to start making wait lists because the group was too big and the venues couldn't hold us. And so I got very lucky in that it just grew very quickly and very naturally. And I've never done like paid ads or anything like that. It's all been kind of organic growth, which is really exciting. But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of how it all started.
Of course. And what a testament to what you're doing that it grew so quickly and organically and that there really is like a need for that community. You hear people talk about like, oh, there's so many people in New York City. You would think it would be so easy to meet other people, but I do know like it can also feel really lonely because it seems like, oh my gosh, everyone like already knows people and they already have their group of friends and their plans. So that's
Yeah.
incredible.
I think there is probably no worse feeling than being somebody who just moved here and you're like very eager to get out there and do all the New York City things, but you don't want to do it alone and you don't have the people to take with you, right? Like that's the experience that I'm always thinking about where you're like seeing this cool event online or seeing this awesome new restaurant that just opened and you want to go, but you don't want to go alone. And then you're just scrolling through your phone, like, who can I ask? Or you're reaching out to friends that maybe you've grown apart from for whatever reason and they're not getting back to you. And it's just, yeah, it's just so frustrating. And there's really no reason for anyone to have to feel that way because there are so many people here that want to connect and want to make new friends. And so you really just have to put yourself out there and be ready and open to meeting them.
Do you remember the location of your first brunch?
Oh my gosh, RIP Vandal. I don't know if you remember that spot or
No.
so it was actually a nightclub, but they started offering a brunch. I think it was a Tao a Tao property, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was a nightclub and they started offering a brunch service and the venue was just so unique. I have a video from it. I'll send you after this, but it just had really cool artwork and honestly the food was really good. And I think that was kind of another thing that I sort of started doing accidentally, where I didn't just want to go to your run-of-the-mill places. I wanted to kind of find the hidden gems that not everybody knows about yet. So at the time, that was one of them because people thought of that venue as a nightclub and they didn't even know they served brunch there. And so it was kind of exciting for people to discover that through our event, which was really cool.
Yeah, what a fun way to like try somewhere new.
Exactly. And I always tell that to the girls, like there's infinite number of outcomes that can happen when they choose to come to an event, but at the very worst case scenario is like, okay, you spend a few hours like having interesting conversations, getting to know people that you otherwise wouldn't have met, and you get to check out a new cool spot. Because I actually track it on our feedback forms, and over 85% of our members are going to the venue for the first time through our event. So they're really getting to see, a lot of different types of locations and try different types of food. And so, yeah, if that's the worst case scenario, like you have nothing to lose, you know?
Yes, I love that. So I saw on the website the bestie matchmaking. I love this concept. So
Yeah.
tell us everything.
Oh my gosh. Well, it started actually a few years ago. I did a different kind of variation of this where up until that point, we were hosting these sort of like larger scale events. And I started asking on the feedback forums how people felt about the size of the event because I think for some people it's a bit overwhelming. We
Mm,
have a lot in place, like ambassadors and things like that, to make sure that people are connecting and all of that. But even still, just that moment of walking in the door and seeing, 45 women, it can feel really overwhelming. So I started thinking about, maybe we should try doing some smaller events and give people, different kinds of opportunities and different ways to connect. And so I put together this survey that asked all different questions about, what they're looking for in a friendship, what their ideal Saturday is like, what kinds of activities they enjoy, how often they prefer to communicate with their friends, all these kinds of things that in normal day-to-day life when you're making friends, it's not like you ask these questions up front, right? You kind of
yeah.
just discover it along the way. But I kept thinking about, well, how nice would it be and how reassuring would it be to know that you've been sort of like pre-matched with people that you already are aligned on those things. So in a way, it felt like kind of skipping the line and getting to just go straight to the front of like becoming friends. So we hosted these series of friend dates, which were those smaller groups that had been pre-matched, and it went so well. I mean, the feedback was like, I was crying reading the feedback forms.
Oh,
People were just like, "Oh my gosh, we connected on so much and we had so much in common and we could tell that, these matches were so thoughtfully put together." And in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, because I spent like 10 hours going through each response, like pairing people so carefully. But anyway, I just thought it would be fun to try a different variation of that with the larger group. So this wasn't one of our largest events, but we had about 40 women there. And so it was just so funny because when I was going through, once again, spending like, again, another 10 hours, like reading everyone's responses, trying to find the best matches, I realized that so many of them had so much in common. And so originally, my thought was that the whole event, people would be with their matches, and that would be sort of like the whole thing. And then, literally, the night of, I made the decision to have the first part of the event just be sort of like an open mingle so that they could meet people that weren't their designated matches, but that they
mm,
likely still had a lot in common with.
yeah.
And that worked out really well. So there were a lot of people on the feedback forums who said, it was really fun getting to meet my matches who I kind of already knew that I had X, Y, and Z in common with, but then also getting to meet the woman sitting next to me when I was, trying that snack that was in that corner, and so
Yeah.
it was really fun. And again, I think I'm always trying to find ways to make people feel more comfortable just getting in the room because that is often the hardest part. There's lots of women who join the community and don't attend their first event for like a year. You know, they're getting the emails for a year. So many girls, they call themselves lurkers. They tell me like, "Oh yeah, I was a lurker before I came to my first event." And so I'm always just thinking like, how can I make it easier for people to feel comfortable coming? And so a big push with this event was like, you know that there are at least two other people in the room that are super excited to meet you, and they already know you guys have stuff in common and that you'd be a good fit for each other as friends. So, yeah, it was really fun. It was really, really fun.
Looks awesome. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I think, yeah, so many times we're providing opportunities for people to connect, and then it's still like, oh, well, like, why didn't that person come? Like, I know they really want to make friends, but on the other
Yeah.
side, it can be like so scary and intimidating to put yourself
Oh, yeah.
out there. And so
Yeah.
I know you mentioned ambassadors. Can you
Mhm.
tell us more about that? I'm assuming they're like there to kind of help, find the people who maybe need to find that connection.
For sure. So, my master's is in mental health counseling. So, I always think about how there are these sort of like psychological components in every event. One of them being that I think that point when they first arrive is probably the most stressful
Mm,
because I actually challenge myself every month to attend an event solo. I like to be in their shoes and really feel what they're feeling when they come to my events. And what I find for myself is that's the most stressful part. Just walking in the room, you're scanning, like looking for people to talk to. A lot of times people are already kind of in groups and it's so awkward. You feel like you have to like butt in and be like, "Hey, can I join the convo?" Like it's very uncomfortable. And so you will never find that at our events. Like they are designed to avoid that. So basically, right when you get there, you are checked in by either myself or an ambassador. And then the first thing they're doing is introducing you to someone nearby and sort of kicking off a conversation between the two of them. So I always say like you're never going to be lingering in a corner on your own. Like there's just always someone to help connect you. And then with our seated events, I actually do a seating chart for most of them. So it's not like you have to look around the tables and try to figure out where to sit. You know that you're going to be with girls that are in your age range whenever possible that live in your borough. We have a lot of times girls coming in, let's say from Brooklyn to a venue in Manhattan. I love to seat them together so that they can travel home together on the subway after,
yeah.
like so there's just a lot of things throughout the event that are designed specifically to help people feel more comfortable because again, like recognizing that they're putting themselves out there and they're kind of like being vulnerable. So I want to make sure that that goes well for them and that they leave feeling super empowered by the experience and ready to come back to the next one. And actually, I'm so proud to say that for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, it's been a 100% yes rate on the question that's last on the feedback form, which is, will you be joining us for another event in the future? So 100% of the girls who fill out the feedback forms are saying yes, which I'm like, we're doing something right, something's going well here.
Absolutely. That's incredible. And you should be so proud of that. And I think like it's so clear from the thoughtfulness that you're putting into all these events. What are the ways we can make people more comfortable? What are the ways we can pair people? I mean, that makes a huge difference. And I think that's a bit few and far between nowadays. So like I'm
Yeah.
sure people feel that and that makes them want to come back.
It's like the highest compliment that someone can pay me at these events where they're like, we can tell you put so much time and attention and detail into like every facet of this event. And I'm like, yes, because it really is, like there is so much that goes into it. And I have tried so many times to put together like a video for Instagram or something just to try to capture all the stuff that people don't see, right?
Mm.
Because they just see the end result. And obviously, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for them. So I don't want them to feel any of that stress or see any of the chaos. But it would be, I'm sure, so enlightening for people to know, like start to finish, how much actually goes into putting these events together. It's wild.
Absolutely. I planned events in my former job, so I totally understand that sentiment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's just like there's just so many things, and I feel like even being the most, you could be the most detail-oriented person in the world, and there could still be something you miss, and you have to sort of wing it the day of and make these quick decisions. And yeah, it's super crazy. But I mean, I used to work full time in juvenile justice, so anytime I feel like remotely stressed about this, I'm like, okay. Perspective, like I'm not, it doesn't have to do with children's lives anymore. So it's a little less pressure that way.
Absolutely. And couldn't we all be served from taking a step back sometimes when we're stressed and finding
Yes,
perspective and what's stressing us out?
for sure. Oh yeah.
Okay, this is a health podcast, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about some of the wellness events you've done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I will say that when the pandemic hit, I think I kind of kicked my own self-care into high gear in the sense that I was willing to try any and everything to keep myself calm. And, at the time I was living alone in a studio, and I don't know. I just was like, if there's even a chance that this thing that I've never heard of could really help me, like, I'm gonna try it. And so at the time, I was hosting virtual events with the squad. I wanted to keep the group alive and connected. And I knew that even though we couldn't be together physically, there were still ways that we could connect and, just make it even just the tiniest bit easier. We've done yoga nidra sessions, we've done breathwork sessions. Of course, we do a ton of fitness events, whether it's bar or yoga. Um, what else? I have done spa nights where we're like going into, this facility and trying these different treatments. I did a wellness weekend where we went into like a salt cave and we were doing meditations in a salt cave. I mean, like,
Amazing.
yeah, there's so many. I think, that's stuff that I'm really interested in. So I love kind of sharing it with the group. And I think living in a city like New York, self-care is so important. Like, you just have to set aside time for yourself to recharge and reconnect. And I think our events, even like a happy hour event, could do that. But whenever possible, I love to add a wellness component so that you're not just trying to squeeze this in your own schedule, you're actually learning about it with other people. And then you're able to kind of connect with them while you're trying it for the first time. And I don't know, I think there's an accountability aspect too of like you're showing up to a room with 45 other women who are also setting aside this time to prioritize their own health and wellness. And so it just feels really good. So yeah, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch. It's hard to, there's times where I'm doing 10 events a month. So it's hard to
Oh my
always keep,
gosh.
yeah, it's hard to always keep track of everything we've done. But I would say those were definitely some of the highlights for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I love that you have such a good variety because I mean, personally, I love a fitness class because well, one, I enjoy it, but two, I feel like I can find like-minded people that way who aren't, I'm early riser, early to bed. And every once in a while, of course, I want to go out and have a good time.
Right.
I enjoy a good drink, but for the most part, like I live my lifestyle like very health conscious. And so it's almost like a challenge when you find friends that live maybe a complete opposite schedule and interests as you. Cause you're like, well, I really enjoy time with them, but like it's
Yes.
just not going to work all the time. So what a great way to meet someone who has like a similar lifestyle and values as well.
Such a great point. I find that with like almost any of the activity-based events that we do, it's like you automatically know you have this common ground and this common interest, and that goes a long way. And even like I was saying before with the accountability piece, I mean, I did a bar class over the summer and I had one girl messaging me and she was like, I've never tried bar. I'm really scared. I've heard it's really hard. And I was very honest with her. I'm like, here was my experience. I did find it to be really hard, but I loved it. It was like a new kind of challenge. And, they're doing these small movements that when they're demonstrating, you're like, that's going to be so easy. And then you start doing it, and 2 seconds in, you're like dying. But I convinced her to come along and to try it. And I actually just saw her at the Bestie matchmaking event, and she told me that she like bought a membership and she's been going back to more classes with girls she met at our event. And so it's all just about, yeah, like you said, connecting with other people who are interested in the same things as you and will help you stay on track with those kinds of goals if you have them. So it's a win-win for sure.
As a bar instructor, I love to hear it.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. Yeah,
Yes.
wow. I give you major, major credit because I wish I could do it more and get to a place where it was easier for me, but I do love it. And every time I do it, I'm like, why don't I do this more? It feels really good.
If you've been listening to the podcast or following along on Instagram, you probably already know that I'm getting ready for a big move back up to New York City. I'm so excited to have a new space to design, and while I don't know exactly where I'll be living yet, one thing is for sure. My home will feature artwork from my favorite Etsy shop, Arranger Paints. My favorite piece from the artist Steve is a painting of the New York City skyline. It's hanging over my desk as we speak, and it will certainly be making the move to the Big Apple. If you're looking for one-of-a-kind artwork to personalize your space, be sure to check out arrangerpaints.etsy.com. As a special thank you for Health by Haven podcast listeners, use code HXH10 to get 10% off your next purchase. Thank you for your support of the show and for supporting our podcast sponsors. Now, back to the show. Okay, book club and travel club. I'm so interested in both. So tell us everything.
Yeah. So I guess this was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. I realized that in addition to just like the regular events, it would be really cool for the members to kind of get to see the same faces over and over again. Because with our regular events, it's almost always 50% new people coming for the first time, and then 50% women who have joined our events in the past and they're coming back for another. But you never really know who's going to be there, and you never really know, it's just always different, right? And so I started thinking about creating these more curated club experiences where you are seeing the same people every month. And that allows you to build even deeper connections because you're picking up on conversations you had the month prior and their familiar faces and all of that. So the first one that I created was called the Squad Society, and basically they got 2 extra meetups every month, a group chat, and it was all the same people. So they got to really know each other better. There was also a little portal where they could go in and look at each other's profiles and find like interesting facts about each other and things like that. So that was really fun. And then from there, I decided to do the book club. And that has been one of the most fun things to see because I guess when a new person is joining one of our book club meetings, the pressure is kind of off because there's not as much small talk, right? Like you're there with a purpose. You have this book you want to talk about. We have group leaders who have discussion questions planned and they're kind of guiding the whole experience. And so it just feels like a really low pressure way for people to get introduced to our community. And so at this point, we have 4 different clubs. Every month, there's anywhere from 75 to 100 members. And so we specifically limit each table to be no more than 10 people because I feel like in order to like really meaningfully participate, you can't have a table with 20 girls all trying to get their 2 cents in. So we really try like give them a curated experience. They are the ones who vote on the books. So every 3 months, they recommend 3 books and then they vote, and whichever books get the most votes, that's what we read next. And yeah, it's just been really fun. There's so many girls who have told me that, they wanted to read more, and this has been like the push that they needed. Again, the accountability to, instead of scrolling on Instagram for an hour at night, pull that book out and read that book before bed. So that's been a lot of fun. And then as far as the travel club, this was such a wild this was one of those things where all the pieces kind of just fell together. So I often will go through our welcome surveys and just see, the different interests that people are submitting. And travel has always been a huge one, which is amazing. I mean, I love to travel, so I get it. But
Yeah.
we were doing our Halloween party a few years ago, and I noticed, so we were the only group at the venue aside from one table, kind of in the back. And it was this group of more like middle-aged type ladies, and it seemed to be corporate, like a work thing. And so the manager came over to me and was like, "Hey, Liza, this woman is wondering about your group and she wants to meet you. And do you mind coming over?" Great. So I'm over there talking to her. It was very loud. It was kind of hard to hear her. And eventually I realized she told me that she worked with Travel and Leisure magazine. And I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing. I'm thinking of starting this travel club." So we just kind of started talking. And before I knew it, a few weeks later, I was on a call with their like head of global partnerships, and they're explaining to me about their travel and leisure go platform, and it just kind of all like worked out so well. So basically those members were getting there was again a survey that they filled out at the beginning, because I think a lot of times it's not just that people are looking for friends to travel with, they're looking for friends who want to take the same types of trips that they do. I
Absolutely.
I have heard so many stories of people who, end up like frustrated because their friend wants to do certain activities that they don't want to do, or maybe they have different budgets for the trip, and one friend wants to splurge on a big dinner and the other friend wants something more budget friendly. Like there's just so many opportunities for conflict to arise on these trips. And I also have talked to so many members who just are in a different stage of life as their friends. And so maybe their friends are married and have kids and they can't just like jet off for a weekend anymore. And so
Hmm.
there's a lot of people that are looking for specifically people to go travel with. And so we actually have like a survey to help kind of help them vet one another really, and to make sure that they're aligned on that stuff. And then there was like an online portal where they could log in and post any like upcoming trips they were taking if they were looking for travel buddies for a specific trip. There was a recommendations section where people, if they went to an amazing hotel, they could leave that recommendation. And then they also got access to that Travel and Leisure Go platform where they got special deals on hotels, flights, activities. There was even a dedicated concierge. So if they were going to a city that on their website there was no itinerary, they could call and this concierge could help them put together an itinerary, which was so cool and so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now I am sort of reconfiguring the way some of these clubs work. And so book club is the one that is still active right now, and the other two I'm sort of finessing behind the scenes. So it's not open for new members right now, but the current members are still, in there. But yeah, it's just been really fun again to bring people together who already know they have this shared interest, and they already, you're like getting a head start because you already kind of have this common ground. So yeah, I remember doing the launch party for the travel club was so fun. Just walking around the room and hearing everyone's stories of like, I went to this place, and then someone's like, "Oh my God, I went there too." And it's like an immediate bonding moment. So it's really cool.
Of course. That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
What is next? What are some things upcoming, things for people to keep on the radar that you're excited about?
Oh my gosh. Well, so I did 57 events last year,
Oh,
which
goodness.
is kind of insane. And I don't have a team. That it always cracks me up when I get those emails, Liza and team, and I'm like, this is the team, you
I'm the
know?
team.
But yeah, so this year I honestly have been scaling back the number of events because I was starting to get a little burnt out at the end of last year and I don't want that to happen. So I'm sort of like pacing myself, but definitely have some really fun stuff coming up this summer. I'm really working hard to get us a Hamptons event. That is something I have wanted to do literally for the last 6 years, but I've never gotten this close. Like there's actually pieces falling into place, and I'm like, okay, maybe this will actually happen. But if not, I definitely will do a retreat in the fall because that's something else I was working on last year. In Hudson, I feel like there's so many beautiful locations and it's so peaceful. And I actually have connected with a lot of vendors up there. And so I think just taking what we're doing here with our events and just extending it, like a few days, it would be amazing. So I would say that's what I'm most excited for. We do have a day trip that we do every year, upstate apple picking and wine tasting, which is so fun. But even at the end of that, like 8 hour day, the girls are like, "Oh, I wish we could all go to dinner." Like they don't want it to end. So I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll put something together that will be a couple of days long so that people can really integrate into their new friendships and yeah, just get some experiences that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. So I'm very excited for that.
I love it. That all sounds amazing. I'll have my fingers crossed for you for Hampton's event this summer.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's so hard because everything is so expensive and I try to keep our events accessible to people, but
hmm
I'm making some headway. So fingers crossed.
Okay, talk to us a little bit about membership because I'm sure you have lots of people excited. They're listening. They're like, I want to come to an event. Tell us a little bit more about how they can get involved.
Yeah. Well, I would say definitely start on our Instagram, NYC Brunch Squad. You can see, especially in the story highlights, I always wonder if people ever even look at those, but I always say that's the best place to start because you can really get the inside look at our events and, videos from each one, and you can really see what we're doing. I'm terrible at keeping up on the feed. So if you're looking for what we have coming up, the best place for that is the website, nycbrunchsquad.com. I try to keep that list up to date. I can't promise that it always will be, but it will give you sort of a sense of what we have coming up, and you can sign up on the website as well. And yeah, it's just, you pay per event, you buy a ticket to the events that you're interested in, unless you are interested in book club, which is more of a membership. There's like the monthly fee, which covers your brunch at the book club meeting. And yeah, if you have any questions about any of it, just message me. I'm a big audio message girly. So if you send me a message on Instagram, I'm happy to get back to you and just, yeah, we would love to have anyone join us.
So much fun. Okay, I'm gonna switch us into some wellnessy rapid fire questions to wrap it up today. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
All right, morning or evening workout?
Morning. Absolutely. Ugh, it puts me in the best mood. I actually just did one this morning and I feel like I eat better throughout the day. I'm more aware of how I'm treating my body. It just like really sets me off on a good note. So yeah, definitely morning.
Agree. What was your workout?
So I have a trainer that I've been working with. I really want to get stronger, so we're doing a lot of weightlifting. But I have been doing a lot of online. I have an Allo Moves membership, so I've been doing
Mm,
a lot of their online classes as well, which have been really great. They have such a good variety.
awesome. I'll have to check
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah.
Running or walking?
Both. Is that allowed? Because
Sure.
I always feel so good after I run, but honestly, even just like an hour long walk is great. It really depends on the day, it depends on my mood, but when I can push myself to run, it always feels really good. If I'm not up for it, a walk is just as good some days.
Just some fresh air, you know?
Yes, for sure.
Juice or smoothie?
Oh man, these are so hard. I don't want to say both to every question. I actually just did a juice cleanse for the first time like 2 weeks ago. Okay, I'm gonna say smoothie because I think there's a lot more you can do with smoothies as far as like what you put
Mm.
in and different superfoods and whatnot. And I also was kind of troubled by the sugar content of some of the juices I had. I'm like, that's the sugar as like a can of soda, Like what are we doing here? But yeah, I do love juices as well. But I would say if I had to pick one, smoothies.
Mm. Coffee or matcha?
Not a huge fan of either, to be honest, just because I'm so sensitive to caffeine.
Yeah.
So I get headaches from both, but I'm a huge tea person. So if it's like a herbal tea, that's where I'm at.
What's your go-to flavor?
Oh my gosh, anything fruity. I love the fruity ones, but also even like a chamomile or a mint. I feel like
Mm.
those. I just tried licorice, a licorice tea last week.
Oh,
So delicious. Really, really
really?
good. Yeah.
Huh.
Highly
Never tried
recommend.
one.
Yeah, you'll have to do it. Report
Mm.
back. Let me know what you
Yeah.
think.
Pizza or pasta?
Oh man. I'm vegan, but they do make vegan pizzas and they are delish. But I think I would say pasta. There again, there's just so many different varieties and there's so much more you could do with it. So yeah, I think I would have to go with pasta.
Mm-hmm. Tacos or quesadilla?
Probably tacos.
Or
Most case, yeah.
because the cheese, I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. Early riser or night owl?
Okay, realistically, I am definitely more of a night owl. However, those nights that I can get myself to bed at a reasonable hour and I'm up at like 5:30 without an alarm, it's the best feeling. I love being able to get things done early in the morning and just like 10 o'clock rolls around and I've already had like a full day of stuff done. It's the best. So I would say I'm an aspiring early riser, but realistically, more a night out.
That's actually a frequent response. So,
Really?
yeah, you're not
Okay.
alone. You're not alone. Aspiring early risers.
Good to know. Good to know.
Okay, anything else that you're like, everyone listening needs to know this about Brunch Club?
Well, I would say that everyone should really just challenge themselves, if not every day, at least every month, to do one thing that scares them. So, we all have those things in the back of our minds that we want to do, or, those habits we want to form. I just gave an example 2 seconds ago of wanting to be an early riser. And I feel like just taking small steps towards that goal is a much more sustainable way to make it happen than just trying to like wake up one day and do it all. But yeah, I talk to so many members in our community who tell me like for years I've been wanting to put myself out there. I've been wanting to expand my circle. I just don't know how to do it. And, I really try to make our events again, just make that easier for people and make it more fun for people. And I try to host the types of things that will get them excited enough to kind of overpower any of the nerves or anxiety. But obviously, it takes a certain degree of being willing to put yourself out there and being willing to take that scary step. And so, yeah, I guess I would just leave people with that. If there's something you've been wanting to do or try, just do it. And if you can't do it, take a small step towards doing it. And it will just feel so good that you'll want to just keep going. And yeah, I think that's the best way for us to try to get where we want to go.
I couldn't agree more. Liza, thank you so much. It has just been such a bright spot in my day to chat with you today. And so I'm so excited to come to some of your events and for people to give them a try as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.